Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate having everybody here. We're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I just want to give a huge thank you to the Jemez Valley Baptist Church, who has not only been our partners here, but have hosted the community members as well. You've all done such an amazing job. I'm seeing kids running around doing work, and you have really pulled together as a community. And a special thank you to Ashley Redmond and Joanne Gracie for being available for us anytime we needed it, and to the community. So we really, really appreciate you. Could not have got things set up as quickly without you and all your help. So thank you for that. So with that, I'm really glad again that everyone was able to come. We appreciate you coming. We know that this is a difficult time for you. There is a sign-in sheet out in the hallway, so please make sure to sign in. We also have our daily updates and our public information maps. Tonight we're going to provide you a briefing from our operations team from the Southern Area Red Team, and then we're going to have some of our guests speak as well. And after the update, I will facilitate questions. We do have a microphone this evening. I know we were lacking that ability to get that microphone out to the audience last time, and we are going to be able to get a microphone out so that everyone in here can hear the video, and then as well as those that are sitting outside. So this meeting is scheduled for an hour until 6:30. We have a couple folks that have to get to other meetings, but the majority of us will be staying, so we want to make sure to stay until all your questions are answered and give you an opportunity to ask some questions in private if the public setting isn't what you're looking for to ask your questions. We are going to video this meeting. Due to connectivity issues, we weren't able to live stream it, but we are going to post it on our Facebook page so that anyone can go back and watch it at a later time. So with that, I'm going to introduce Scott Stearns, who is our incident meteorologist, to start with our updates.
Good evening, everybody. Scott Stearns, IMET. So today we saw the westerly winds across the fire pretty light. So in terms of fire weather, not too difficult of a day, but there still was some fire movement, and other folks will talk about that, so I don't want to steal their thunder. But tomorrow we are looking at a heightened critical fire weather day. We do have red flag warning in effect across the area, not just the fire, but the entire area, and that's in effect from 11 a.m. through 10 p.m. So we are looking at southwest winds around 15, maybe 20 miles an hour sustained, and gusts will be up to 35 miles an hour or so. So unfortunately, that means that we just moved the fire to the southeast yesterday with the winds, and so now we're going to be blowing against all that fire that was just pushed that direction. So again, I'll let the other folks talk about that, but kind of an unfortunate situation in terms of what the weather's doing. It's not giving us a lot of good luck here on this fire. So again, we got those southwest winds tomorrow. Then tomorrow evening, overnight, we're going to have a cold front move through, and that's actually going to kick up the winds well into the evening and overnight hours, it looks like, especially on the eastern side of the fire. They look to be particularly strong, so in the overnight hours. So that's something that we'll be watching closely. Then winds turn back westerly for Monday, and then we're looking at southwesterly winds on Tuesday, and then it looks like maybe westerly winds again on Wednesday. So, the relative humidities stay low. There's really nothing new in those terms, both during the daytime and overnight hours. So we don't have any precipitation, any good chances for precipitation in the next 6 or 7 days either, unfortunately. The other thing is tomorrow we're looking at, not only are we looking at strong winds, we're also looking at what we kind of call unstable conditions that promote fire growth. Not only winds at the ground, they promote, fire movement at the ground level, but unstable conditions can promote the column of the fire, the smoke column, to move up higher into the air as well, and that's concerning for operations and firefighter safety as well. So I think that's about all I have. If there's any more questions for me about the weather, I'd be happy to try to answer those later. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Allison Coons, a fire behavior analyst. Going off of what Scott has just told us and what we've seen over the last couple of days, with the fuels that we have out there, you know, the heavy stuff that came down during the fires from the past, or since the fires from the past, that stuff is extremely dry. When we look at fuel moisture options, that could be all the way up to like 300% of a dry weight, just absorbing all the water. Right now, it's at 8 and 10 instead of the super wet 300. So we're about as dry as we can get in that size fuel, and it's showing in the fire spread that we have. That combined with pretty sparse grass right now in the footprint of the fire, it is keeping it rolling very slowly for the most part. It's those wind events that Scott was talking about that is pushing it. You know, yesterday, 2.5 miles. But predictions for tomorrow are going to be less than that, just a little bit, fortunately. We're looking at maybe 0.5 mile an hour if everything lines up. If the fuels are there, if the topography is going to channel that wind, then that's when we're going to see that growth. So it may not, you know, I'm not talking about a real long distant growth. It can only go for 0.5 hour. It might go for less, and then pick up another patch and do it somewhere else along this whole perimeter on the east and a little bit on the north side. So we're looking at the long term, like he said. As grasses are starting to green up, we're getting a little relief potentially, but as I'm sure many of you have been here for a long time, it's going to cure and then become available again in a very short period of time. So with that in mind, we're going to be available for you for any questions. I don't want to take up too much time, and I'll hand it off to Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Allison. Peter Myers, operations for the Red Team. So I'll go over the event that happened yesterday and what we're doing on the fire today. So like the meteorologist and fire behavior said, we had that wind event yesterday. It did push this fire southeast. We had northwest winds. So the fire lined it up with a lot of these canyons. You got Reed Canyon, Fraser, you got Bland Canyon. So the fire kind of got in the top of them. And with northwest wind, these canyons are lining up north to south. So when the fire got in them with that northwest wind, the fire was pushed down into the canyons. And that's why it went 2.5 miles this way and almost 2 miles in this canyon. So yesterday was another wind event push. Remember the first day of the fire, the wind event pushed that fire. And over the last 4 or 5 days before this wind event, the fire was only growing a couple hundred acres a day. So right now we're seeing it's going to take a wind event to really push this fire through this old fire footprint and everything. It's still going to gain acres every day, but it's going to take a wind to really push this fire and make a big run and everything. So it made a lot of good runs yesterday. Over in here, a lot of our resources was sitting here on Cochiti Meadows. We ended up evacuating all the community in here, and we sent a lot of resources in this community. We started doing a lot of structure preparation yesterday with dozers, set up water tanks, and got prepared to protect these structures. So luckily the fire with the northwest wind, it stayed in the canyons and went south of all these homes yesterday and last night. So that was a good thing. The rest of the fire looked real good. And over here in Romeo, it made this one big push coming out of Romeo to the south. We pulled our guys off that was in this area. We backed them out and had to let that fire go. Remember this footprint, we just can't get in there and go direct on this thing. And the way it was moving and everything, we just backed off and everything. So luckily nobody got hurt yesterday. We still fought fire where we could. We got aircraft up early yesterday morning, flew into the winds, got too high, then we shut them down and everything. So for today, doing a lot of great work today. Over here in Alpha and Zulu, we're still watching our back door. We're still got crews in here mopping up. This is not done with yet. So we still got some areas along the lines, just little areas that still got some heat close to the line. We're still focused on this because we still got this SLP community right there. So we're not forgetting about this, no matter this is all where all the fire is. We're still mopping up heavy. So today we came in and we decided we can't go after this. So we made what we call our PACE model. Primary lines, alternate lines, and contingency lines. So that's what we're concentrating on today. Over here in Romeo, we're picking up the 271 down to the 266 and coming around this fire scar. That's our primary line for the west side and everything. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to tie in with the Pueblo tribal land. We got people down there scouting that out, trying to figure out the road system around their land. Over here in Division, we broke out Division Foxtrot and Division Mike. So we added the division because this footprint's getting bigger. So we had to break this out. So Division Foxtrot, we got a lot of people in here today at these structures, still cleaning out around the structures and preparing for when this fire does come up out of this canyon. Because we got southwest winds and everything. When they come up out of this canyon, we're there ready for it and everything. If you notice, we do have a spot that came out of the canyon yesterday afternoon, last night, on top of the mesa. So if you're familiar with the mesa, the south of the houses is kind of flat up on the mesa. So we went in there today, and there's roads around it. We went in today and got the roads cleaned out around it and finished technical firing around the road system so we can keep that spot from growing. Because it's below the houses. Any kind of wind shift, this fire would have ran up to the houses. So we're in there getting that checked up right now. Also, our primary line on this side is Forest Road 268 coming down through here. So we're bringing this road down here, and pretty much down here it starts to rock out and everything. So we're tying the road in there and tying it into rocks. So as we come down farther south, a lot of rocks down in here. So we're hoping, well, all this rock feature will keep this fire from coming farther south. If it does, at least it's slowing it down. So we're using this in our primary line. A lot of people are right in there waiting in case something comes out. We're there to help protect these structures. We're going to take our primary line back to 4 and back around and tie it back into the black. Excuse me on that. We do have alternate lines down Forest Road 289 all the way down to here, and we'll tie it into the south. So we got plans, and we'll see what this fire does and go from there. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brian Riley, District Ranger here on the Jemez Ranger District. And yeah, we're obviously very disappointed with how this fire is moving through the burn scar. First time we've ever had this happen, it was 11 years ago that we had the Lost Conscious fire, and we've had quite a few lightning strikes and other fires in there over the years. And usually it just kind of skunks around in there, but with this wind, it's decided to blow it and keep on moving. And we've been surprised with how much it's been moving. But I really want to give it to the team for the safety that they're practicing out there. They're keeping their firefighters safe. And first and foremost, we want to make sure all the firefighters go home to their families. So we appreciate everyone staying safe out there. It's a hard area to work in. We do have some dozers out there which are helping, but putting firefighters on the ground where we have a lot of standing snags is something we don't like to do. So we're trying to avoid that, but hopefully making some progress today now that the winds are dying down. As I mentioned the other night, if you were here, we do have a closure on most of the district. We have a closure that runs east and south of Highway 4, actually both sides of Highway 4 as we head east of La Cueva here. You'll notice that we have flagging closing all of our sites, East Fork Trailhead, all the fishing sites down all the way to the village, And I just took a drive before coming here just to see whether people were respecting that closure. And sure enough, for the most part, we're getting a good response from the public, and they're staying off the road. I didn't see any private cars on the road all the way to the caldera, so I was surprised, and all the way back. I only saw fire vehicles. So thank you for respecting the closure. We're also finally today finishing up the closure order for 376 North. That'll run from Porter Landing to 126, with 376 being closed. I'm sure there are some people in there right now. We probably have to get them out of there. But if you haven't noticed, we moved the fire camp over there to 376. It's at the intersection of 376 and 604. So we appreciate people staying away from there also, and letting the fire vehicles have free movement there. So that's what we're doing here at the district. Really appreciate all the support we're getting from the team, and I'm happy to answer any questions here in a few minutes. So that's all I got for you.
Good evening, Teresa Greeno. I'm the emergency manager for Sandoval County. I'd just like to thank all of you for being patient with all of us with our evacuations and the changes in circumstance over the last 2 weeks. We're working hard to keep all of our information on our websites up to date. We're working closely with IMT as well as pushing out evacuation orders and re-entry as soon as we get that information. It's important that if you're not already signed up for Code Red, our reverse 911 system, please do so. It's one of the quickest ways that we can alert you of the changing situation, whether or not it's doing evacuations or re-entry, being able to get you back into your homes. If you need more information about how to sign up for that, I'm going to be here afterwards as well, but it is on our website, our Sandoval County website. So thank you all.
Thank you and good evening. Steve Parrish, Incident Commander for the Southern Area Red Team. You've heard it from others. We appreciate all the cooperation and coordination that we've had with all the agencies, Sandoval County, and I don't want to start naming them because I'll leave some out. But there's a lot of cooperators, a lot of stakeholders, and it's been excellent coordination trying to make sure that we're representing everyone's interest out there in the communities and on the landscape. A couple of things to just note, oftentimes at these we don't get to deliver a lot of good news. And you hear that from the incident meteorologist about, dry, and then they just continued more dry. But we like being transparent. We like being upfront and honest because that's what we're here to do. So I hate that it's not good news when it comes to that, but we just want to make you aware. And I'm sure you're tuning into all the local stuff as well. We did initial attack a new fire the other day, the Free Love fire. That was just off to the northwest there. As you probably remember, I mentioned that was part of our delegation. So the coordination with the local district resources on that was excellent. They were able to throw just about everything we had at it, from air tankers to helicopters, crews, engines, and was able to keep that thing pinned down at about 3.5 to 4 acres, I think it was. So that was just another example of how coordination and communication works. So we'll continue that, and we still have that responsibility. A couple of other things, with the weather forecast that you heard and the weather turning, this is another one of those transparent moments. The fire run off to the southeast, you get a southwest wind. If it starts pushing forward, even though the ops group and we have a plan for a line between the northern edge of the fire and Highway 4, there's always that potential again that it's going to push Highway 4. And if it does that, we may have to close the road again. So I would just offer the advice. I know it's a big issue logistically, access back and forth for some, but just be prepared. I just want you to be aware of that. We'll do that only if it's necessary, and we'll only keep it closed as long as it's necessary if we have to do it. And again, that's an if, but just want to put that out there. Again, how we can all help one another, though it may not be this event that something happens, it may be the next one. So utilizing all your assets that you have, doing things around your own homes that makes it easier for us if it's this fire or the next fire, so that we can get in there and protect structures and property. So always like to throw the Firewise out. We can start with our own actions and help us out. Let's see here. We did have a meeting today that will define, we're only here for 14 days. Our last working day is next Friday, I think it is. So we have coordinated with the forest. They will be ordering a replacement organization for us. We'll start that transition with them about mid to late week, so that we can pass on all the information to them that we've gleaned, not only on the fire operation, but just how everything works, communication and coordination. So want to be transparent with that as well. We'll keep the community meetings going as long as there's interest and we're here, and until we leave, and we'll make recommendations to the next organization on that as well. So again, we're happy to answer any questions. I'll turn it back over to Lenore, but thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience and grace. Continue that with us. If we're not doing something, let us know, and we'll try to clean up the communication and coordination and using all the assets that we have. So thank you for that.
So with that, we're gonna open it up to questions. Laura is gonna bring the microphone over to anyone that has a question, and then you can ask it. If you could just wait for her to get to you and then ask your question in the microphone. And I think you could take that one right there. So do we have any questions?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for the fire department, the police, the Baptist church. It made us feel good, like we're at home. But we're picking up all the branches and stuff around the property. Where do we dispose of them? Thompson Ridge is closed.
Brian?
Can you take it out? Brian.
That's a good question. We actually right now do have on Wednesday and Saturday, they are taking slash at the transfer station down in Cañon, where where you take your trash. It's right by the bus, right across from the bus barn. So there is a container down there that is accepting slash. So I would encourage you to use that. It's free. It's a free service the county is providing. We are planning on reopening the slash pit, working on a plan to get some volunteers to help us out with that. We had a lot of problems there in the past, and we will probably get that open. Well, as soon as we get through this tough period we're going through right now, we will try to open it probably 1 or 2 days a month, and we'll get the word out through community communication techniques, and hopefully people will start using it again. But again, it's not going to be wide open like it has been in the past.
Thank you.
Brian, is that open to anybody, or just that area, the slash pit, when you reopen it?
It'll be open to anybody, as long as they want to drive all the way there. Again, people can use Cañon also, transfer station.
Another question for Brian. Is there any talk about stage 3 coming up anytime soon?
Good question, Tom. That's, we have started discussing it, yes. It hasn't been a lot of discussion yet, but unless we get some sort of a change, it's coming. And if you don't know, stage 3 means forced closure. We're almost essentially closed now on the Jemez district. We've got a few places still open, but we're about 65, 70% closed. But we try to work with the entire Santa Fe National Forest. As you know, if you're paying attention to the news, we've got a really big fire over in the Pecos, Las Vegas district. They're going to close their entire district as well, I think. So I think we're close, Tom, to going into forest closure, unless something else happens that gives us some relief.
Pete, in Los Alamos, you mentioned a month or two of smoke and continuing. Could you comment?
Yeah, you know, we talk about smoke. Since this fire, we're allowing it to burn across the landscape because we can't go after it. So who really knows how long it could burn? Could be weeks, months. And so as long as this fire is burning across the landscape, there's going to be smoke. And prevailing winds are to the southwest, flowing into the northeast, and that's where Los Alamos is. So all the smoke's going to go that way majority of the time and everything.
So you're not thinking that this is something that's going to go out until we get lots of rain?
Well, now, if it comes out to our primary lines, yeah, then it's good and everything. But, you know, it could skunk around here for a month before it gets out to our primary lines. Because we're not going to go in there and light off the lines and send it in there. We're going to let it do its thing, especially down here on the south end, because it could get checked up in there with rocks and stuff. So we're not going to push it. We're going to let it do its thing. Up in here it's a little different, but overall, it's going to smoke.
And just to add on to that, as part of our daily forecast, we do have a air quality specialist that's putting out smoke forecast. And just to make sure that there's no confusion, so we're not allowing it to do anything. We're only committing responders where it's safe to do so. So, you know, with that snag patch out there, we can't go in there after it. So I just don't want that confusion that we're allowing it. We're only able to make a stand in certain places where we commit responders to tasks that we can be successful and they can go home with. So I just wanted to clear that up.
I'm Chuck Milkey from Sierra Los Pinos. Question, how much of the fire is actually healthy for the forest? How much of it is this sort of kind of doing a lot of damage?
Nobody ever wants that one, right? Yeah. So, and I'm speaking just in general, right? Because I haven't been out there on the ground. But you all know this is your community. You lived in it. You know what that fuel load is out there with all the snags. You know, forests regenerate themselves through fire. So as far as the healthy aspect of it, you know, we have biologists that focus on that. I'm sure that the forest will consider some type of burn area emergency rehab at some point, may be part of the conversation. But, you know, if it's a fire adapted ecosystem, then yes, it is doing good. However, that's not what we're managing it for. You know, you've got other fires on the landscape. You heard in the first meeting that this is happening at a historical time of the year. So it is doing a lot of good out there. It's getting rid of that heavy fuel load. It'll also make it, what word am I looking for? You won't have to worry about that area for a good many years after this is done. You know, depending on what your use of the forest is, if you haven't been able to get in there to do certain things because you've been scared of trees falling on you or just access, you know, you could see benefit from that. But fire is good on the landscape, and so that's the best way I can answer it. Is it's a healthy part of the ecosystem.
Add one thing here. Living in Sierra Los Pinos, well, we, as you know, we've been doing a lot of treatments up there for years. And we do believe that those treatments helped keep it out of Cerro Los Pinos. Now, we're not going to claim victory yet because this fire's still going, but we do believe that it was helpful. And unfortunately, with that first day of wind blowing so hard, it took out a lot of, it burned the forest very hot. So we haven't been able to get in there and really see if we're going to have any survival, but we know we lost a lot of trees. Hopefully some of that area that we've thinned will get some survival, but just don't know yet.
I'll just add on to that. Thank you for that, because I did go out on that south end and see some of those fuels treatments, and you know, that whole side of the fire could have looked a whole lot different during that initial run had it not been for all of that work in there. So just kudos to the forest. It's really a testament of what hazardous fuels reduction treatments are all about. And we'll certainly encourage the forest to do a success story on that, not only for this area, but other areas of the West that could benefit and seeing, you know, not only a write-up, but photos, fire effects, that kind of stuff. Stuff like that's what saved communities, right? And so kudos to the forest and all the people that went in there and done that hard work.
Very good. I think that this fire took care of our south end. Cayeta took care of that east end. Is there anything in place to take care of that west end between Jemez Falls and our community at Cerro Los Pinos? I think that's where we're vulnerable at most.
Yeah, so afterwards we can come up and get you tied in with Pete, but all of the stuff on that northwest corner working down to the southwest and where it turns, it's not completely black line yet, which means contained, but they do have the lines in there. Crews are mopping up, 100, 150 feet in. So that's what Pete was referring to is kind of our anchor point. So that area we're feeling pretty good about. I'm not saying 100%, but there's been a lot of effort put into protecting that community on that west side and then turning east. Yeah.
So the west side of Cerro Los Pinos, you'll notice if you've been there a while, across the street from East Fork Trailhead, that area was thinned probably 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And then we burned it about 3 years ago, I think. And then back behind there's another area. You go off of Mesa Verde Road there, and we also burned there a couple of years ago. So we have been trying to reduce the fuels on that west side. And we also, if you'll note, on the south side, that real steep country that climbs up to the top of Forest Road 10, that was all thinned also, and piled and burned. So we call it putting a collar of fuels treatments around the neighborhood, trying to help out. And the one area that is going to be tough, and we eventually will get some more work done in there, but is the East Fork drainage that runs from the falls to Battleship Rock. And that's still an area of concern for sure. But that's sort of, otherwise we've done some good treatments in there.
We live on the south side of Cerro Los Pinos there, and at one time a crew came through and said they're planning on putting some kind of line right across the forest boundary. I mean, right now it's forest boundary, then really thick fallen down trees and things up to there's kind of a logging road up there, and then from there he did a really good job of treatment. But I don't know if there's still any plan to come right down to the boundary, Forest Service boundary, or National Forest.
Well, I'd have to go out and visit your place, but I know that a lot of that area we did come down to the boundary. Maybe not right there by the road, but most of that steep area has been thinned. So we'd have to come have a look and see. And I know that there's some private land just this side of the boundary that has some pretty dense trees in it that we'd love to work with whoever the landowner is there to do some thinning. But yeah, if there is some additional trees to thin there, then we need to get in there and get it.
about back on Ashley Lane? I was back there a couple days ago during the fire, and I'm with the Cueva Fire Department. And it's like dog hair thick in there. Fire starts in there, it's done. The whole community can be done.
So the question is about Ashley Lane.
It's all private.
Yeah, it's all private, unfortunately. And if you drive through the private, you eventually get to the Forest Service land, and you loop around by the falls over there. But and we encourage people. And of course, the state forestry division is they talked about it the other night when they were here, that there is a program in place to help private landowners do thinning on their property. But yeah, that area is pretty dense. There's a section through there that it is dog hair thicket. You're right, but it is private.
Good evening. Thank you again for what you all are doing, and you all are in our thoughts and our prayers. Now, you said that there is a program out there that is maybe available, so we'd like to get that information. And plus, our neighbors, everybody's working right now to thin out and clear. But that was good news that we can actually go take the debris and branches to the. That's the dumper. That's the one near where the buses are, correct?
Across the street.
Oh, okay.
Drive up in there, and then there's a little booth in there. If you've ever taken trash there before, just opposite the pay booth.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Okay.
a big container set up there.
Okay.
It's a little bit of work. You gotta drag it into the container. It's not-
Yes.
You don't just dump it, but you gotta drag it in the container.
Okay, and also, well, maybe after the meeting, I'll get together with you, and maybe that's something that I could help pursue.
Sure.
My husband and I would like to, be a little bit more involved. This, we usually, this is what happens when things like this happen. The community comes together, and we've met a lot of great people here. Thank you to the Baptist Church as well. Thank you.
Do you know what started the fires yet?
So we did have a fire investigator come in, work with the local law enforcement officer. I've not seen the final report. That's not something that the team typically manages. We facilitate the order for bringing those folks in. I haven't seen the write-up, but I know that the investigation, I'm sure, I can't say that it's complete, but I know the gentleman's here. They were also involved in investigating the Free Love fire as well. But as far as a cause, no, I can't give you that. I don't know.
Other questions? I did want to point out too, we had a couple of questions on the phone line today about air resources. So we do have our air resources advisor in the back. If you could just raise your hand. So if you had any questions about air resources, she's back there as well.
Smoke, not there.
And smoke. Oh yeah, smoke, sorry.
You all know where Horseshoe Springs is? They have dumpsters come in there every year, and I don't know how many of them, but they all pile their needles up, put them in the dumpsters, and have somebody haul them off. And other communities could do the same thing for Slash.
Thank you for that. We'll pass that on.
Any other questions that folks want answered? If not, we can wrap up the meeting, and we will be available for questions afterwards. But again, I really want to give a huge thank you to the Jemez Mountain Baptist Church. So they've really been here for anything that we needed, as well as the evacuees. And we heard it that sometimes these situations bring the community together. And we're coming into your community to try to be of service, and without you all helping us, it becomes a lot more difficult. So we really appreciate the hospitality that we've had here. We know that this is a really difficult time for everyone. I was here when radio traffic was coming in on the Free Love fire, and just, how fire conscious this community is, and when that happens, how difficult it is for everybody. So you all have done a great job as a community, and really appreciate the partnership with you, as well as our cooperators who've been coming to all these meetings as well, to make sure that you have all the information that you need. So if there's no additional questions, we'll end the meeting, and we will be out. Do you have another question?
It just came to me.
Sure.
I know that the fuel cutting for winter is through right now. Is that correct?
The question was about fuel cutting for next winter.
There's no permits being put out.
Burn permits, well, I know that we're not doing any more burning this spring, that's for sure. The conditions are not appropriate. But I don't know what the county is, I'm sure they've gone into a closure as well, I'm not sure.
I know they've delayed the selling the permits. I'm just
Oh, you're
asking-
talking about the fuelwood permits, okay.
Yeah.
Fuelwood permits are delayed. We don't know yet when we're gonna start selling fuelwood permits again. It's gonna be a few weeks.
And I know it's not the best time right now, but I had a job, I have 5 dead pinos on my property up in Area 1 that was supposed to be coming down right when the fire started, and I told them, no, don't cut those now. When would be a good time, do you think, to have those done, because they need to come down? To wait?
Probably wait.
Get some rain?
Yeah, you should wait. We are currently, just to remind people, we're in stage 2 fire restrictions right now. And actually the restrictions as they were written were actually incorrect, and we've made an edit, but right now chainsaws are not permitted between 10 and 6 p.m.
That's anywhere.
That's anywhere. And but I would encourage you, it's probably not a good time to be using a chainsaw even in the morning right now. And if we go into full closure, then there'll be no chainsaw uses.
We have a question in the back.
Include electric chainsaws? It does.
So the question was about electric saws.
It includes electric, the way that it's written does include it does include electric chainsaws.
That means no cutting in your own property.
Well, I can't, Forest Service can't tell you what to do on your own property. You're supposed to follow the rules of the county. I'm not sure, Lee, do you know what the county rules are right now?
There is no restriction on saw use, unfortunately. Private property.
Okay.
No restriction on saw use on private property for the county.
And how about ATVs usage?
Well, the forest
You
is
can't use it for the forest, but you can use it around the...
around your house, sure. But again, I think just be wise and don't drive in any deep grass and,
We're just clearing
Yeah.
up, so I just want to...
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me add, it's like, of course, we wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize anything. So the restrictions, and I know that just came to mind, restriction to, where can we find all of that on the
Stage
website?
1, 2, and 3.
For,
On the Santa Fe National Forest website.
okay.
The restrictions are on the Santa Fe National Forest website. Any other questions? Anything else come to mind for folks? If not, a huge thank you again for coming out for another meeting. I know there's been a lot going on for all of you, and we really appreciate you showing up this evening. And we will get this video posted on our Facebook page for anyone that maybe couldn't make it, or if there was anything you wanted to follow up and watch afterwards. So thanks again to the church and to all of you community members for pulling together and helping us be as successful as we can here.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank y'all.